Mr. Chitwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman Martinet,
Yes.
Mr. Hull,
Yes.
Mr. Beecham,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes.
approved.
Great. Thank you. Up next, if everybody will please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you're wearing a hat, please remove it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we start every meeting by reading our mission and vision. Our mission is to be a school district that engages students to learn, create, adapt, and succeed in an ever-changing world. And our mission is to maintain small town values and empower each student to achieve world-class success. Public participation.
We had 2 cards presented.
Thank you. And just as a reminder, as I call you guys up, you'll have 3 minutes and there'll be a timer present, and I'll also interrupt if it starts to go beyond that. And we will not hear any personal complaints concerning a student, employee, or group of employees during open session. So if you can just be respectful of that. Up first, we have Kimberly Charity.
Thank you for having me here to speak. My name is Kimberly Charity. Some of you I've met, some of you I haven't. I'm a parent of a Spring Hill High School graduate this past year, and I also have a sophomore here. I'm here tonight regarding the student publications and the pronoun policy used in our yearbook. 4 years ago, when my daughter was a freshman in student publications, she told me that articles were routinely being edited, so students were referred to using they, them. She also told me that points could be taken off if that practice wasn't followed. I disagreed with it, but she asked me not to get involved because she did not want to be treated differently, and I respected her wishes. Therefore, I chose to remain silent. Last month, however, when Mrs. Bayou stood here and explained that her daughter specifically asked to be referred to as a she, that made me realize I should tell my own story. So I brought your past 4 yearbooks, and they are tabbed so you can look at them. This was the one my daughter's freshman year that shows the they, them pronouns. And as the years have gone by, the tabs have increased. This was this year that refers to humans as they, them. So therefore, sorry about this. I want to know how this came to be about, okay? A student led should never be a student ignored. And I felt like Miss Christina Bayou's daughter requesting that she be referred to as if she was ignored. So it begs the question, what other student-led policies exist at our high school that affect student identity, representation, or parent expectations without parents and family clearly knowing that these policies exist? I would like to know. I think there's a lot of parents here that would like to know. Student leadership matters, but adult oversight and transparency matter too. I want the board to be aware that a Kansas Open Records Act or a CORA request will be submitted seeking documentation regarding the development, approval, and implementation of this policy. This is not meant to be a threat, it's just a request for transparency. I've also seen yearbooks for the surrounding districts wondering if this is a common policy. It is not. The he, she pronouns are the default. So this is not simply how yearbooks are written. It's a local policy choice. So I have 3 requests actually, but before that, there's a lot of people here that did not sign up. But I want them by the show of hands to answer these questions if you'll indulge me. If you believe—
I'm so sorry, Kimberly, the time has run out.
Okay, thank you so much. And I really hope that you would consider this in the next action agenda item.
Thank you so much. And up next is Chip Van Hook. Chip.
Thank you. My name is Chip Van Houten. I'm the proud father of 3 students that attend Wolf Creek and Forest Spring Middle School. I'm also a state representative for the 26th District and a staunch advocate for public education. I would like to begin by thanking each of you for your willingness to serve our students. I served on the Spring Hill City Council for 3 years. So before becoming a legislator, so I know the thankless job that you have, and when the room's full, the feeling that you have. I'm here today to support again my children and as a public advocate for public schools in Topeka. Over the past few weeks, I've received numerous phone calls from constituents concerned about the 2025-2026 yearbook using pronouns. I believe a yearbook should be something students can keep for the rest of their lives. It should preserve memories of their classmates, teachers, activities, accomplishments, and the moments that defined their time in high school. Again, it is my belief that every student and person should be treated with dignity and respect. Schools should be a place where all are welcome, and we should accept everyone for who they are. The use of pronouns is the exact opposite. We talk about giving rights for all kids to identify however they want. By doing what the yearbook committee did, they're literally going against what we preach. Students carry these yearbooks with them for decades. It moves from their childhood bedroom to their first home and eventually becomes something they show their children and grandchildren. It is supposed to be a permanent record of their high school experience. I can't recall the last time I opened my senior yearbook, but my wife and kids like to go through it every now and again just so they can see I was a teenager. Translation, when I had a full head of hair. The U.S. Department of Education is taking action against 4 school districts for the continued violation of Title IX. The schools are Olathe, Shawnee Mission, Topeka, and a letter of impasse to Kansas City, Kansas School Board of District for failing to comply with Title IX of the Education Amendment of 1972. Recent enforcement actions to these schools notifying the districts that they have 10 calendar days to come into compliance or face enforcement action, potentially including referral to the United States Department of Justice and the termination of federal funding. That's a problem. In my opinion, these violations will deplete school district budgets and available resources defending the use of pronouns in public education. We should not allow USD230 to be subject to similar lawsuits. It will be awful for an otherwise exemplary school district. The district says these decisions were made by student yearbook editors and do not represent the official views of Spring Hill Public Schools. That does not mean parents and taxpayers cannot question whether this was appropriate or not. I respectfully ask the school board corrects this issue so we can maintain a laser focus on the real issues facing students, reading, writing, the arts and sciences at grade level. Also, we want to prioritize post-education. I respectfully ask for your consideration to maintain those standards without wading into highly contentious issues on.
Chip, we're out. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. We'll go to the consent agenda.
Wait, before we move on, April, I just want to say thank you to the parents and the community members who took their time to attend this meeting tonight and share your concerns regarding the yearbook. I recognize that this is an issue that's affected families. I've received emails and calls and text messages all week, and many people are seeking answers and accountability and a meaningful response from the district. So as you can see, this topic was not included as a discussion item tonight on the agenda. So I will be submitting a request for this matter to be placed on a future board agenda for public discussion. I hope that discussion will provide clarity about how these decisions were made, how parent concerns were handled, and what options are available to the affected families. I also hope that it will lead to clear procedures for future student publications, including better communication with families and opportunity to address concerns before printing and appropriate acknowledgement of the concerns that have been raised. So I just wanted to say that before we moved on, since it's not on the agenda tonight.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. We have approval of the minutes, personnel, the Title III Consortium with Greenbush, elementary additions, HVAC, and the high school CTE and Commons. We have the Hop Skip Drive transportation contract, the Renew Edmark subscription, the Smarts program license, the RBT contract, renewal of contract with First State Nursing, the Q360 Workforce Solutions, the license renewal for Q Interactive. That's all 11.
Perfect. I'm going to move to approve the consent agenda as presented and read.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any conversation or questions? Okay, Mrs. Henderson, please collect the vote.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman Martinet,
Yes.
Mr. Hull,
Yes.
Mr. Beecham,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes,
Mr. Chitwood,
Yes.
approved.
great. Thank you. Good news recognitions and announcements. Mr. Peavy.
Hey, good evening, everybody. We are excited today to have a Core Value Award to distribute to a very deserving staff member, Michelle Rohr, Nutrition Services at Spring Hill Elementary. It's going to be receiving a Core Value Award in the areas of world-class staff and supportive environment. To present this award today, I'd like to invite JC Dalton to come up and say a few words.
Thank you all. I just want to tell everybody what a great employee we have with Michelle Rohr. She's been with us for many, many years. She is our cashier at Spring Hill Elementary, and she learns every student's name. She makes each child feel special and excited to be there. And we have kiddos that don't eat school lunch with us, and they still want to come by and see Michelle. They still want to say hi. She has done such a great job with positivity in our kitchen and the whole school with the staff. And so we are so fortunate to have you, and congratulations. You do an excellent, excellent job.
Thank you.
Oh, my pink in my pink shirt.
I'll give you the box back.
I don't know what I'm missing.
You're good. Thanks, guys. Congratulations.
All right. License card looking for-
What's up? Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Oh, yes.
We'll take a quick 2-minute recess so he can come up and grab. 6:16, Spring Hill Bond Update. Mr. Williams.
Good evening. Thank you so much for letting me come visit with you this evening to talk about our bond and where we're at with some of the additions and the progress for the high school and the roofs and the HVAC. I do need to apologize. These pictures have already changed from the progress of where they look 10 days ago. This is where we were at, and now we've already, everything looks completely different what was taking place. Overall, if you remember, we had a $60 million bond that our voters graciously passed to help us out with everything. I want you to take a look at the right side of the column because we have now all estimated costs or actual costs of what our projects are going to cost us for these improvements. We are projected to save about $7.3 million out of our $60 million. And so that is great for our contractors that helped us out, Newkirk, Novak, everybody that assisted on this, but it gives us an opportunity to discuss future items and to help us out with everything on that. The contingency budget for the elementary school. So all three of our additions are ready to go when it comes for school on the first day. They have all their flooring down. They have all their wall items up. They have their classroom furniture inside. There are a few little cosmetic items that need to get taken place. There are still some few outside landscaping items that need to take place, but we do have the full clearance from the city of Olathe, the full clearance from the city of Spring Hill to be able to occupy those additions and get school started with that. So here within the next couple of months, I hope that we can be able to close the books when it comes to the finance for the elementary additions. But where we're sitting at right now with contingency is the last meeting that we had. We talked about the additional playground asphalt at Spring Hill Elementary School not to exceed $110,000. I think we're going to be below the $110,000, working with Newkirk and our engineers and our contractors taking place with that. I think we should be able to get that completed and hopefully open to the kids by the middle of September when it gets taken place. So right now, when you do drive by Spring Hill Elementary School in the back, there on the south side, you will see some temporary fencing still up for construction. They're going to have that area blocked off from the kids so they can't access the new asphalt area and get things taken care of. The veneer repair is on the exterior of the addition. This is one of our major storms we had when we had an unidentified object come flying in and actually hit some of our outside items. So we weren't quite sure what it was and when it was. I think it was the night we ended a board meeting relatively quickly to get people home to get that taken care of. So we had to redo some of the masonry work on the outside and get some things taken care of with that. And the temp wall removal at Spring Hill Elementary School, and then replace the flooring where it was that to make sure it matches and get up to speed. So you can see right now our total owner contingency remaining, we have just a little over $300,000 remaining when it comes to our elementary additions. The building responder system has been purchased and been installed. And so our funds down there, we did not have to pay any money towards tariffs when it came to our projects. So right there on that little line item, we have a little over $283,000 remaining when it comes to the building responder systems. So this is the latest Prairie Creek update. We do have carpet veneer. Everything's done in Prairie Creek. It looks really tremendously. If you look down the main hallway, there's still a few little things on the display cabinets to take place on some things, little cosmetic ideas, but the furniture's been placed in the classrooms. The teachers are moving their belongings into there, ready to go with that. Kylie and his crew did a great job working over a weekend to wax the floors, get the rooms ready to go for the teachers, and get those taking place out of all three additions. Timber Sage is ready to go for our students. Once again, it's just a few little cosmetic items inside. They need to be taking place on the outside, a few little landscaping things, but the building has been waxed, cleaned, ready to go for the teachers. All furniture has been placed in with the appropriate classrooms and taken place. We don't have a picture of She's because we've been kind of done with that addition for a while longer, but Kylie and his crew did a great job coming in and getting that taken care of, all the floors taken care of with all the ceiling work taken on the HVAC and getting the school clean for the teachers with that. So I'm proud to say that the three elementary additions look great. Been working with Dr. Luttrell on what we can do to recognize those additions. I think we're going to have community open houses at all three here in September. We'll get that date taken care of and get some invites out to community members. I think we have a lot of back to school nights happening this week, so there'll be a lot of action taking place in those additions. So if you have the opportunity to walk through there, love to have you guys walk through there and let me know if you have any questions when it comes to the 3 elementary additions. HVAC contingency, this has not changed since the last time I've given you a bond update, which has probably been about a month and a half now. So we are in all HVAC units have been placed on the roofs. All HVAC units have been hooked up and under control, and they're running into the buildings. So that's been really nice to work on. And so right now, overall, with the contingency budget with HVAC, we have just a little under $900,000 remaining when it comes to that. But like I said, all the units are up. All the ceilings have been dropped and ceiling tiles placed in all the hallways. You remember at both schools, they took the ductwork off the roof and dropped it above the ceiling. So that took a lot of time, a lot of effort and coordination, but it looks really good. I do want to give a shout out to Billy and his crew for coming out and making sure all of our cameras worked out there, Centegics and everything else was taking place with that, because those buildings were pretty much off limits and they had a lot of exposed ceilings and wires with things. So as you can see, these are still older pictures, 10 days old. The units have been installed in all the buildings. We're also talking about the Early Learning Academy. They had their units swapped out. The ceiling's been dropped. All the ceiling tiles have been placed. You can, when you walk in, we'll talk about some of the painting of some of the Spring Hill Middle School lines that they have on their walls. We'll talk about that, doing that next summer to make those look correct and get those taken care of. But everything looks really good. So I appreciate the flexibility that Tammy Endicott and her office staff and Mark Meek and his office staff gave us, and being temporarily relocated in a different place helped out tremendously. So the roof progress at both schools, Delta has been doing the roofs at Spring Hill Middle School. They've done a fabulous job. They have a few little odds and ends to get taken care of. Hopeful here within the next few weeks, they'll be done with some of the roofing projects there at Spring Hill Middle School. They worked really well with the HVAC and getting those incorporated on the roof and things taken care of with that. The crew for Spring Hill Elementary School Premier Roofing has been a little bit slower than Delta, so they still have quite a bit more work to do. So they have now switched their working hours from 4 in the afternoon to 11 p.m. so they're not interrupting school and getting those taken care of with that. Kylie has worked really hard and worked well with Garland Roofing. Garland has been a big advocate for us to get them moving and get things taken care of. They send additional crews now onto the roof to help out. So we're going to work on that. So just hang tight a little bit, but we're working really well. I can tell you this, that we've had a lot of rain lately within the last few weeks. And so credit to Kylie for going to check and make sure we're not having leaks anywhere. We've had a few little spots every once in a while, but nothing major. So we've been very happy with that. And then if we do find a leak, Premier or Delta is right there to fix what they needed to do on the roof to make sure things get taken care of. The high school CTE and Commons, we had a wonderful groundbreaking ceremony this afternoon. It was a little, well, I guess late this morning. It was a little warm, so it made it feel like the afternoon. We moved it off of the mud pile and moved it over onto the asphalt, so that probably helped a little bit on the heat. But they did a really good job getting that taken care of. We had a great turnout. We had some students there. We had some high school staff there, community members. So we really appreciate the coordination with Scott Peavy and Newkirk Novak to get that organized for us, and everybody that spoke, Dr. Robinson, April, and Mayor Young did a nice job with that. So we are working on some projects on talking about the CTE and Commons contingency, start bringing some of those to you. These first 2 items I gave you a couple of weeks ago on a Friday update. They are larger price, but things that we just had to get done so we could keep on moving on to the project. We had to increase our sewer line to help with the capacity to make sure we're getting things taken care of. So we have that completed. There's a couple the plumber needs to come out to hook up onto the school so we can get things taken care of with that. But the replacement line has been laid. The temporary FTC relocation, meeting with the fire marshal, there was an FTC for them to get some water on the east side where the construction was going to take place. We needed to provide them a place where they can have access
in case there was a fire. So we routed a temporary line up on the roof and then onto the north side outside the construction line. He was okay with that and signed off on the paperwork so we can get things taken care of with that. So those were those large ticket items that we spent so far. We have just a little over $1 million. I know that every time I come talk to you in the next months, we're going to be bringing more and more things when it comes to you, when it comes to contingency for the CT and Commons. But we're well on our way to get things going for that. As you can see, some of the updated pictures, they do have the outside of the Commons demoed with the temp wall on the inside. If you ever, like tomorrow, if you're there for the open ceremony, stop in the high school Commons, you can see the temp wall. It does make the Commons a little bit smaller than what we're used to for the last few years. So I appreciate Mr. Koss and his admin helping out, Mr. Sutterby being creative on where we can put lunchroom tables to make sure kids get fed and everything taking place on that. But the temp wall is there. It is hard to tell what lighting is going to be like until we get students in the building. If we feel like we need to increase some more temporary lighting in that, we just need to let Kirk Novak know, and their electrician will come out and hang up some temporary lighting in there on that wall. And so with nobody in there, it's not bad. But once you start putting some bodies in there, you're not quite sure what the lighting is going to take place on that. We had a couple of huge power shutdowns. One of them was a little nerve-wracking for Mr. Terry, but he handled it like a champ. I was very proud of him. We had to shut down completely everything, even the main server in the high school edition. We had to cut power, and they had to reroute some lines because we had to have a new electrical panel placed for the CTE edition and get that taken care of with that. Billy and his crew were there by 6 a.m. to make sure everything got shut down properly. Then we anxiously sat there and waited for a few minutes while they did power it down. And then it seemed like 20 minutes took 2 hours. But they finally got the power back up. They rerouted to a generator so we can rerouted some new lines of the server room to a generator so we can get that taken care of with that. And then Billy and his crew worked generously to get everything back up and running for us. We were down a little bit for the district to about 9 a.m. With our internet, our Skyward, our everything, you name it. But things were back up and taking place. So we do appreciate that. That North Edition didn't have power for about a week. And then Newkirk Novak, they came in and they closed it down on a Friday. We put the high school office staff over at Wolf Creek. So thank you to Beth Cooper for letting us have them in the library there. They worked there. And then we had the power back up by Saturday evening there at the high school edition. So it's a big step, but there's a big step that had to get done and taking place. You can tell the greenhouse has been demolished. The Commons has been taken down. So they're working on everything. They got the new sewer line laid down. So we're working on everything so we can get things going and get things started. So hopefully by fall, you can actually see something back there when you look back there on that place. So I'm very excited about everything that takes place with that. So that is where we currently land with all of our bond items at this time. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have a quick question because I just want to make sure I'm saying this right when I'm, talking to people and telling people. Because with the completion of the HVAC projects at Shees and Middle, that gets us to the place where we have parity in our HVAC systems, meaning all of our district buildings are on a level playing field. And it also hopefully means that we're not going to be running supplemental heating in there in the winter as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is I just wanted to,
Yeah.
am I right when I'm saying that? And-
Yeah, you're correct.
and
I
the-
mean,
the value that we're delivering.
value and then Kylie can chime in. I think we're pretty much at a even playing level field with everything now.
Perfect.
So
I love
yes.
it. I'll keep saying that.
With the delays at Shees, are we sure we can keep them cool and comfortable as we kick off the school year?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. Any other questions or comments? You're right, I hear you.
Believe me, Tammy has my cell phone.
Yeah, I'm
Just
sure
let
she
me know.
does.
So we'll be okay.
And probably Kylie's address, so I
Yes.
get it, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you guys so much. I thank you for this update, especially considering what Kylie went through last week. I mean, it's been our last meeting. It's
Yep.
you guys have had a summer.
Yeah,
So I
no.
appreciate everything that you guys.
Kudos. No, thank you.
Awesome,
Appreciate it.
thanks. Okay, up next, technology summer projects, Mr. Terry.
Well, thank you, board members, or president, board members, and Dr. Robinson for allowing me a few minutes to come up here and brag about my team and the many things we do over the course of a very short summer. I think I've said this before, but we often get asked, oh, do you get to enjoy your summers? You know, because a lot of people think we're 9 or 10 month employees, but no, summer is crazy time in our village, right? So, if you might remember, we talked about buying 250 iPads. So that was just to get our devices at our elementary schools on parity with each other. So we were able to do that this summer. We went through and grabbed all the carts out of Shees because we weren't going to be able to get back in there. So we grabbed them the day that school ended. We were in that building in the evening grabbing them, or the late afternoon. We were able to get everything swapped out to the rest of the buildings, bringing those devices up to the secondary level to fill out our growing population, and to also be there as we do have a few spares in case we need them throughout the year, whether we continue getting more students or breakage, damage and repairs and stuff like that. Speaking of secondary iPads, all of those have been migrated. The graduating senior devices and whatnot get cycled down to the sixth graders. They get wiped, cleaned, repaired, anything that needs to get done. They stay organized, everything except for new students and the incoming sixth graders. When the library media specialists at each school and the classrooms pick up their the student iPads, they all go into a bag with their charger and everything, and everybody gets their same device back. So it's an organized process. It works. We also have many Windows devices, desktop devices, like the one in front of me across the district. We also had to put brand new ones into our elementary expansions because elementary teachers currently have Windows desktops as part of their technology deployment. And so we go through, clean those up, clean up our computer labs, deal with updates, new device, put new hardware out when needed, and get all that done throughout the district. That's hundreds of devices alone just in the Windows deployment. On another technology note, we also manage Skyward and our Skyward database. While we aren't quite ready for the cumulative migration yet, which we do have on the calendar for both the Skyward Finance and the Skyward Student Database, Skyward was requiring those of us still on what's called SMS 2.0, which is the older version, to upgrade our database itself, the actual database that stores everything. And it was a security release, and it was a really big deal. Took a couple of days of a little bit of downtime out of band with our normal Friday outages that we use, because that was the only time we could get scheduled with Skyward. We actually had to spin up a new server, get Skyward installed, do all the tech wizardry behind the scenes to make everything connect, and then migrate the data over. It's pretty intense deal. It was one of the more nerve-wracking things that we did this year. And thanks to Mr. Williams for giving a shout out to our team on the power outage. That was very nerve-wracking. Those things are our whole setup, our data centers at the high school, and it's not meant to shut down, which is why it has a generator on it, right? And so when we do need to shut it down, you never know what could happen. And we did have a little hiccup on the way back up, but we got it taken care of rather quickly, and it was invisible to most people. They didn't see that. But on the other end of that, the most nerve-wracking thing we probably did this summer was, in order to put that CTE wing exactly where it is, our existing fiber network infrastructure went down the northeast side of the building there. And we had to relocate that. And that was, I want to give a shout out to the folks at Newkirk, because they did a lot of organization and coordinating with the different vendors, including us and our vendor, and Comcast and Lumen, telephone and internet people, to get them organized to do this over on the same day so that nothing was broken. And it went swimmingly. Shockingly enough, I mean, I was a little nervous. It was a few sleepless nights, but it went well. And other than a little downtime, most people wouldn't even have known that happened. And that is a district-wide event, right? Because all internet, phones, and data go through our data center at the high school. So taking that down took the entire district down during that window. So again, one of the most nerve-wracking things we did. You guys had approved a upgrade and change in our security camera archiver, which is the server devices that save the videos that are taken from cameras. As you can see, I have a screenshot there of a 100% CPU because that's what it looked like before. And then that is quite literally a screenshot of the CPU usage on the server nowadays. It's hovering, right around 20% or so utilization, which is really nice. Gives us room for growth and a lot more agility in our systems for the future. So I'm glad we were able to get that done, and I thank y'all for approving that. Another big one was our network firewall replacement. That happens every few years. We try to keep up to date with our network firewall software. That is the heart of the internet as far as our district is concerned. All traffic goes through there. It has protections in place. It helps us with security. A lot of times, a lot of places will have redundant firewalls, but we stick on a pretty steady, and you guys have always been gracious to approve it, but we stick on a steady 5-year replacement cycle on that with a 24-hour turnaround if anything went wrong. And so it's been a cost-saving measure, and it's worked over the years. It's worked really well. So thankfully that was done this year, and we're good to go for another few years.
So that 4-hour, 24-hour, part of the SLA.
It's part of the SLA, yeah. We have not we use Cisco products, and we've called Cisco for a lot of things. And we have used an SLA with Cisco before, but not for our firewall, thankfully. If the firewall went down, we would lose internet basically throughout the district. Again, there are some workarounds for that, but again, in cost saving measures, we don't feel it's necessary at this time to have redundancy in that, which in a lot of things we do have redundancy, but in this case, it seems to work. And worst case scenario, we'd be at a degraded state for 4 hours while we're waiting on that SLA. Oh, the KED system. This is something we've been working throughout the summer, since before the summer. The state is changing their data system, their data collection system from the KID system to the KED system. And it's something that our data team has been working on for months. Just that little screenshot on the side is just a snippet of the fields that we have to map from our side to their side to make it match.
Sorry, I got to stop you there. There's 2 SMS providers in the state, and this doesn't come out of the box mapped from the Department of Education. Is that what I'm hearing? I'm sorry, that's not, this isn't it, you, Billy?
Yeah, no, it's not so much that, it's making sure our data matches theirs. Sure, there's a lot of some out of the box stuff, but you have to go and verify it and then go check. And there's a lot of options because in Skyward, and there's more than 2 SMSs, but there's maybe
2, 90%.
Yeah, our Skyward and Power School.
Yeah.
There's a lot of customization in Skyward as well. So while you can have, let's say, discipline, there's a discipline module with some canned discipline items in there. We may have our own custom discipline items that then have to be something that the state maps.
Okay.
This one screenshot was specifically just great information. So our grade information could be just slightly different than some other districts. So we have to go through and check and make sure. And there's literally hundreds of those things. So yeah, it's a fun time.
Thank you.
This will be a piece too for the board to watch. We are creating a challenge for KSDE in that when you talk about SMS systems, we have 2 within our district where most school districts only have 1. So Billy and his team, as well as Dr. Smith and her team, have been in contact with KSDE. We're still waiting on an answer as to how our data, because they would really like for us to be on one system and have our one system filter in. And with both Skyward and Power School in place, that's a challenge. So I commend Billy and his team. They're trying to stay in front of it, but we haven't gotten a clear answer from KSD on how that's going to work for our system.
Unfortunately, this long list of items on here is just a small list of things that we do over the summer. And unfortunately, it's the last slide in my slideshow because I am totally ashamed that I didn't include a picture of my crew and our summer help, which I have and I meant to put in here, but probably got drawn away. And then the deadline came up and I sent what I had. But I'm grateful for you guys, for the team that we have. We had 2 vacancies filled this summer, which is very nice for us. Spectacular employees, both of them. Very happy to have them. And then, of course, our existing team is fabulous. And then we also have usually been graced with the ability to have some summer help to help us get through this over the summer. And we've almost always tried to stick with, if possible, Spring Hill roots. And so this year we have 3 college-age kids that are all employee or children of employees of the district. So, and I wish I had their pictures up there, but we've been lucky to have them and they're great, great. I hope we can get them back next year. Although I think they're moving on to bigger and better things, but anyway, thank you. Any questions?
I had one, Billy, as it relates to the trunk line, right? I mean, the trunk line, it sounds to me like it couldn't have been in a worse place, given what we're doing with CTE, right? So was it taken into consideration then in its movement that it's going to kind of be placed now where we don't have to disrupt it again for future expansion or parking lot or driveways?
Obviously I can't say ever, but I can, it is placed right along the curb there with enough room if we had to expand that road a little bit. There's room there. You know, several feet if that road needed to be widened or anything. And it'll be kind of right outside where the new greenhouse will be. So there shouldn't be anything going right in front of it, in front of the greenhouse. So it is in a pretty good spot. There's plenty of property all around that if we needed to ever do something. I think that is probably a good spot. Short of that, we would have had to remove the whole thing. And that would have been a lot rougher.
I appreciate the update and, you know, it just for clarity's sake, you know, the short version is we touched almost every major system this summer. Is that basically your update?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Awesome. Good stuff. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, finance report, Mr. Holder.
Type of finance report through the end of June. And so, as you know, in the world of school finance, the end of June is a very significant month because it marks the end of our fiscal year. So I'm happy to bring forward the report tonight, talk about several items on here. And this will dovetail nicely into our presentation next meeting before the regular meeting about the budget for FY27. So what we'll do when we go through this, we'll look at revenue and expenses for each line and each column, and we'll talk about that at the same time. And so as you notice, our revenue for our general and LOB fund came in almost exactly what we were anticipating. From a practical standpoint, our general fund and the legal max, not always, but most districts always end up with a little bit more in their legal max in the general fund because of reimbursements. Any reimbursement that you receive into Fund 6 is counted towards your legal max. And remember that you have to spend the general fund to zero. You cannot leave a balance in the general fund. So that has to be at zero. And so then the revenue for our LOB came in a little bit shy of where our legal max was. But expenses, on the flip side of that, expenses also came in a little bit short of our legal max. And so where we ended the year is in a good spot. One of the things you'll notice is, when we look at FY25, as you go across, you'll see everything is at 100%. And remember that when I started this report last fall, I took the actuals from FY25. And so I think one of the advantages as we go into FY27 is you'll be able to see as we move through each month where we actually were at that point in time. And so, for instance, you'll be able to see in special education revenue that at the end of FY26, we were at 105.7% of projected revenue. So it'll be a little bit more apples to apples comparison as we move into the next fiscal year, which we knew was going to be one of the advantages. So when you look at special education, you'll notice that we did make a concerted effort there with the revenue side. And how did we accomplish that? Well, we accomplished that through transfers. So we transferred from the general fund as well as the LOB fund, and we transferred enough to be able to make sure that we had a surplus in that fund this year to help build that up and prepare us for FY27. So you'll notice on the expense side, again, remember also we had to republish our special education budget, primarily because KSDE decided they wanted us to include virtual SPED expenses as part of Fund 30, special education. And so, but of course we did come very, very close to what we republished there, but we stayed under that maximum authority that we had from the state. Debt service side, we knew this was scheduled to be a good year. Because of the refunding that was done in conjunction with the bond sale in July of 2025, the revenue that we had far exceeded our expenses. Now you'll notice there that $12.2 million that we had in expense. Keep in mind, and we'll talk about this at our next meeting, that jumps up in FY27. And so our debt service payment or our bond and interest payment will be over $20 million in FY27. Capital outlay, again, revenue came in above our expectation, which is a good thing. And that is without any transfers into capital outlay. On the expense side, just a reminder that 4.5 jumped up just a little bit over 5 because of the first student invoices that we had to process last week. But we still came out in excellent position in our capital outlay fund. And I just want to highlight that, we started this year with 2.9 million, just over 2.9 million in capital outlay. We will finish this year over 5.5 million in that fund. So now we won't always do that, right? We have projects that we need to complete, but that fund was a little bit low compared to where we wanted it to be to start the year. And so I feel very good about the progress that we made in capital outlay. Bond fund, just want to highlight that, we budgeted 66 million. That included an interest estimate. We were able to book around $1.9 million in interest in our bond fund. And so, the slide that Mr. Williams showed earlier, showing that we had about 7.3 million that were under budget. Now we know that obviously sometimes that, we're not done. We've just started on the CTE, but we are substantially finished with our elementary additions as well as our HVAC and roofing. So we've made good progress there. One of the things I'll highlight again when we talk about the budget is, I would anticipate that we will be able to put over $1 million again from interest into that bond fund. And so we'll be talking about conservatively $3 million that we've been able to add in interest to that fund. And so it makes for a very good discussion as we move forward in FY27, definitely by FY28 as to how to best utilize those funds. On the expense side, that $20 million came very close to that. That was an estimate. Remember, we don't have a legal max in the bond fund because you're just trying to complete those projects as efficiently as you can. We do have a timeline in that, they want those bond funds to be substantially spent in a 3-year time period. And so, we actually just hit the year mark on July 15th of 2026. And so I think we're in pretty good shape. We plan to move into the CTE edition in August of 2027. So by the time we tie things up, I think we can definitely hit that 3-year mark. However, I do just want to remind the board that, remember, we're $7 million under budget, which is a great problem, right? That's a good thing. As well as the interest earnings, we will, be having those discussions in FY27 about how to utilize those funds, because we don't want to let those sit there until July 15th of 2027, right? Because then we may not make that 2-year mark, because they like 90% of those funds to be spent at that 2-year mark. Overall, though, extremely positive. The work that our construction partners have done, we're just in very good shape. It does not always happen like this. And so I think it's worth noting that, up to this point, just done an excellent job utilizing those funds. Nutrition services, we knew that expenses were going to exceed our revenue there as we went through the year. We still have a balance of over $133,000. Remember that nutrition services is not designed to build funds. Okay, you're not. The state won't let you build over 3 months worth of reserve. Now, $133,000 is not 3 months worth of reserves. All right. And so as you look at that, just over $250,000 was the deficit this year. We may be in a position where, we may transfer some idle interest in there. I did consider it this year, but I also, I wanted to see how the year finished. I want to watch next year to see how it finishes. And we can definitely make that fund whole if we need to. But it is a balancing act, right? Meal prices, and the fact that we're not looking to build balances, but we probably want to stay in between that 100,000 to 250,000 mark, ideally. Just a reminder that, 4 or 5 years ago, when the reimbursement was free for every student that ate, regardless of income level, that was something that happened at the federal level. That was not a local decision, but that increased the balances in that fund, not just at Spring Hill, but any district similar to Spring Hill throughout the nation experienced that. And so we're level setting at this point, but we want to be in a position where, we're close to a break even every year. So we'll monitor that closely in FY27. Special reserve continues to be just really outperforms our expectations. Remember, that's directly tied to our medical plans and how much we're paying out in claims each month. So we've continued to build that. If when you deal with medical claims, there's going to be days, rainy years. It's not always good. Sometimes you have those years where your claims exceed your premiums. And so I feel really good about where we're at in that fund and being able to weather a bad year or two in the future. We also plan to, hopefully, we're still monitoring it. We held those premiums for calendar year 26, and we really hope to hold those premiums for calendar year 27. That's pretty unprecedented in this day and age to be able to do that. Miscellaneous grants are kind of our potpourri category there of restricted funds. I do want to highlight something there. I did, with some intentionality, you'll notice on the revenue side, we exceeded that revenue budget. I did add almost $200,000 into our student materials fund. It had reached a level below $100,000. We finished last year about 99,000. And so I felt like it was important to build that back up. And so we were able to do that. That's not reflected in the lower left-hand corner. That is an area where we built that up. I also added a little bit, again, on funds that are not reflected because we're not reflecting all 40 funds that you can spend money from in the state of Kansas. But it is areas that we know that we need to make sure our fund balances are inadequate. And so we were able to build fund balances in the at-risk 4-year-old preschool program. And then as well as the SPED balance that I mentioned earlier. And then so as you look, you incorporate SPED down there at the bottom left, you'll see just under 250,000 that we were able to add to those 3 funds and finish the year in a positive situation. I do want to highlight something though, and again, as you live this for a year, last year being my first year, one of the things that I think is worth highlighting is those are 3 heavy hitters. We know that general fund is the largest, but that's always going to be at 0. All right. So we're not going to build that fund. LOB, you have to be cautious because you want to keep your balance there as consistent as possible in order to keep the mill rate as consistent as possible. You don't want wild swings up and down. You like to try to keep that consistent. And then special education, which does not impact the mill rate in any way. I do think it's worth having a balance there that we know that we can depend on. But the other thing that I wanted to mention in closing tonight, and this is something that we'll talk more about as we go through the budget process, and really not a decision we have to make at the budget meeting or in September at the budget hearing. But one of the things, again, as I've lived this for a year, I look at the contingency fund. Our contingency fund has remained at $500,000 for several years. I don't know the exact, I was going to say a decade, but I don't want to say that without knowing it for sure, but it's been several years. It's stayed at $500,000. When I look at the finances in the state of Kansas as it works for all the public school districts, when somebody asks, what's your operating reserve? Well, the state gives us a matrix or a metric, I should say, to calculate that. And when you see the budget in a couple of weeks, you'll see that our operating reserve went up a little bit as compared to the previous year. But when I think about what is truly an operating reserve, to me, it's the contingency fund. And so I think that we, in future years, may want to consider it. We don't want it to become huge. All right. Again, we're not a bank, right? We're trying to take care of taxpayer dollars. But I do think when you think about $500,000 in the context of just our operating and general fund, that's less than 1%. All right. 59.745 million is what we, 59.814 million is what we spent in those 2 funds. That's less than 1% in contingency reserve. That's not counting special education. That's not counting at risk, not preschool at risk, but the other at risk where we spend $2 million is required by the state. It's not counting textbook fund. All of those are considered operating funds. So when you put all those in there, our contingency balance is less than 0.5% of those expenditures. Just for comparison, Gardner, our neighbor to the west, now again, larger, but not a lot larger, but 5.7 million. DeSoto, 3 million. Lewisburg, 1.5. Paola, 1.1. So I think in the context of looking at districts a little larger and a little smaller than we are, I think that's an area that we may want to take a look at. And that we could truly point to as saying, this is our rainy day fund, you know? Hard times come with the budget. We know that at the state level, sometimes at the federal level. Kansas, at least from the basic state aid, I think they have funded that at CPI. That's not the case in every state. There is some proration. That's not happening, at least from state aid. Not talking about SPED funds, but they have continued to fund that, and we're fortunate to be able to receive that. But you also want to be in a situation where you can continue your operations, continue doing all the good things that you're doing. And there may come a time where you have to tap into those contingency funds. And right now, we just don't have a huge balance there in context of what we're spending just in our general and LOB funds. So, all right, any questions?
Thank you. Yeah, it's, those fund balances have been charitably put as not where we want them. And, that impacts our operational decision-making. So, I commend you for making some forward progress and getting there. And I don't want to put you on a spot of from 1 to 10, how much closer do you feel we moved this year? But I agree with everything that you said 100%, which is operationally, we've gotten out of tenuous into guarded. I don't know how to best qualify it, but we're making the right progress that we need to be financially so we can not only make good decisions, but execute on those as well. So how far do you feel like we moved this last year?
Well, you always want to move the needle a little further,
Yeah.
right, than you can, especially when we are in a situation, I agree, Mr. Chitwood, it is, our fund balances are low. I think if you look at even the metric that the state uses, there are not many districts that the operating reserves are lower. Now that we've done an excellent job utilizing the resources that we've had to stay in that range. Because again, you don't want huge fund balances. That's not the point for a school district, but you do want a rainy day fund that you can tap into. So we did make progress, and I'm pleased with that progress. And as we move forward, the key is we don't want to take a step back unless there's something that's comes down that we can't control. And that didn't happen this year. We were able to control where we ended up. So.
I'll take that. We do run lean, and that's the kind of people we are, but we can get so lean that it's dangerous, and we're moving away from that. And I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you on the rainy day fund there. So I appreciate you making that a focus. And then one other comment and a couple questions, and I wish Mr. Van Houten was still here. You made the comment that SPED doesn't affect the mill levy, and I know what you meant right there. It's not directly levied for special education, but with the lack of state funding, it certainly affects the levy since we have to make up for that funding in other areas. And then my question for you, on the bond fund and the required spending, does a transfer to another fund count as an expenditure?
Yes.
Okay, and that works the same for the bond premium, or the bond premium has other flexibility?
Correct. They both have the same uses. They're narrow though. The only other use besides spending on projects that were approved as part of the bond which is broad because you're looking at
and other improvements listed in there, right?
But is to utilize it to transfer to the bond and interest fund to help with pay the debt service. We can't transfer it to the textbook fund or special education.
Capital outlay was I was thinking. You cannot.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Rohr. We now have an action item, the Spring Hill Education Foundation Flagpole Project.
We don't need to talk about that, do we? Basically, I'm going to move to approve the Spring Hill Foundation Flagpole Project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any conversation or questions?
Yeah, one quick comment on this, just because I noticed something in the recommendation right here where it's added, there were no changes to the request following the July 27th meeting. That was a request I made, so I appreciate that. It just, obviously, this was probably a very simple vote for everybody, but on some of the lengthier documents, that saves us time in our review. So thank you.
Great. Mrs. Henderson, please collect the vote.
Mrs. Coleman Martinet,
Yes.
Mr. Hole,
Yes.
Mr. Beecham,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Chitwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
approved.
Great, thank you so much. Up next, future discussion items. We do have a few currently on there. We have updates for any of them that have been submitted. I know Anna submitted one for the IXL, which there's an update that we'll discuss in the September work session. And then we have another one that will have an executive session in that September work session to review. So we're moving good on the ones that have been submitted. Any other new ones that we would like to have added?
Yeah, I mentioned that I was going to add one. So I will submit my board topic submission form this week, but I would like to have a discussion as a board on how we're going to deal with this yearbook situation. We clearly have a lot of people who are upset about it and are concerned and have questions. And I feel like we owe them a open discussion on what the process is going to be going forward and how we're going to handle it. So I'll submit my request to get that added as a discussion item going forward.
Perfect. Any other items?
I've just got a question related to mine on there that has to do with devices and screens. So KSDE is having a workshop on the 12th, right, on Wednesday in Topeka. I'm planning on attending. I was just curious to know if anybody else was from the district was planning on attending.
As far as I know, there's several of us that are watching it on Zoom. Like, we're monitoring it really
Okay.
closely, and we're expecting,
It was my understanding that they were not going to stream it.
they've got it on their website that it'll be video streamed.
Okay,
Unless
okay.
that's changed.
Okay,
I haven't seen any, like, normally.
you
they'll
may have
put-
just saved me a trip to Topeka.
Yeah, maybe. We'll
Please
check
do.
and let you know, but
Thanks.
they haven't put out any agenda or resources. I checked that earlier today. But we are monitoring it really closely because we're expecting it to impact some of our decision making as the year goes.
Okay, anything else? Great. Board work calendar. It feels like we're on tap. We might even be a little bit ahead.
Yeah, we've been working with our director team to try to look at our trend the last couple of years has been that our spring board meetings end up really full and our fall ones are a lot lighter. So we've started looking at some things. Dr. Smith and Mrs. Zook are looking at the assessment report that normally comes to the board, and potentially moving it to September instead of October. So there's some of those kind of things. Multiple people talked about future bond usage and that may be a good work session topic down the road, but both Mr. Delphia and Mr. Williams have been working on just kind of some of those big rough costs on some of the projects that were discussed in the bond process, so that when we get ready, I think they're kind of targeting October as a potential discussion date, but a lot of that could be set in the future. But I think we're on track with where we are. The next board meeting is still fairly light, but it's heavy on budget. So, which was kind of how it was intended.
Right. Okay, thank you. Board of Education member reports.
Yeah, I'll start. I'm number one, looking forward to the new school year and the new site council meetings, but the activity at the Spring Hill Rec, as you know, I'm the liaison for our board with Spring Hill Rec. And it was discussed some months ago, and it's now getting closer. And as I understand it, we're going to have one of the organizers from Special Olympics at our next meeting. But I just wanted to kind of throw the teaser out there that this is a huge win for Spring Hill in that we're going to be hosting the weekend of September 19th a statewide, if I'm not mistaken, it's a statewide Special Olympics softball tournament here in Spring Hill. And it's going to be comprised of some 24 teams, 300 players. And one of the things I'm going to throw out there right now, but there'll be more specifics coming. Keep an eye out on social media with the Spring Hill Rec. But there's going to be a tremendous need for volunteers in all areas with the execution of this tournament. So just be on the lookout. If you feel like either you or your organization in the community can help out, get in touch with me, get in touch with Jason over at the Rec, Jason Gabbert, and they'll welcome you with open arms, anybody that can help with that. But it's going to be a huge win for Spring Hill. I can't wait. I may actually be umpiring, so we'll see.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I met with a local patron about, or somebody who wanted to discuss transition opportunities for students with special needs as they move from the school system into future life, whatever that looks like, right? And so the conversation was just around, who are some community partners that we could reach out to? What role does the district play in it? Regrettably, I've done very little in this, but that specific patron sounds like moving forward with some ideas kind of alongside University of Kansas. They have a specialized program there for that. So I'm just excited to kind of keep a pulse on that and see what comes of that and how the community can be a part of that, supporting those students who need to transition into the next phase of their life.
Awesome.
I would put a plug in for Dr. Weber on that. So we are a fairly large system to not have a transition specialist. And her team does a really nice job of managing it. It is a federal requirement for us to start early and helping students do that. And our team does that through their IEP process. But that's definitely an area that in the future we may want to look at expanding our special ed programming.
Right, thank you. Anybody else have one? Okay, superintendent report.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to sit up here tonight and at the same time look forward to seeing Dr. Luttrell back here on the 24th. But there's a few things that he asked for us to highlight. Life Springs Church and Spring Hill Education Foundation held their annual SOS event, their Support Our Students event this last weekend. For those of you not aware, that's an opportunity for students from our school district to receive school supplies, haircuts, physicals. There's a lot of things that they offer. Great opportunity. And we just wanted to say thank you to both the Life Spring Church and the Spring Hill Education Foundation for their work in supporting our students. Earlier today, it's been mentioned a couple times tonight, we did have the opportunity to break ground at the CT addition and Commons expansion at Spring Hill High School. So many positive things will come from that expansion. And we look forward to continuing to work with Newkirk Novak. I know both Mr. Terry and Mr. Williams mentioned Newkirk Novak. What they did this summer with the elementary additions and the HVAC and turning that over in such a short timeline is just fantastic. And seeing just that partnership, seeing them work, they are taking a lot of pride in the elementary additions, and I look forward to seeing their work on the CTE side. The only other thing we would highlight, tomorrow's opening ceremony for all of our staff early tomorrow morning. So please, we're looking forward to welcoming all of our teachers and school staff back. And then our first day of school is next Monday, August 17th. And we always like to put a reminder in that we do the best we can to get everything moving as efficiently as possible on that first day. But we know our routes are going to run slow. There's going to be some things we're going to have to work through. So we'd ask our families to communicate with us, but to be patient and flexible on that first day of school.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, and last, we do have an executive session. If we can go ahead and get that. Please, yeah, 30. And
Madam President, I'm going to move that the board go into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters of non-elected personnel to protect the privacy interest of identifiable individuals. Under COMA, those to be in session include the Board of Education members and other and assistant superintendent and other administrators as requested. The executive session to begin at 7:20 with the open meeting resuming at 7:50 at this place.
Perfect.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other conversation or questions? Mrs. Henderson, please select the vote.
Mr. Hull,
Yes.
Mr. Beecham,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Horn,
Yes.
Mr. Chitwood,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mrs. Coleman Martinet,
Yes.
approved. Mr. Chitwood,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mrs. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
approved.
Are we live? Oh, yes, okay, we're adjourned.